Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Celestial Farm Girl here, bringing you a message today from the creators of the universe and the God of good, love, peace, joy, and plenty, right? Yeah, the God of love, peace, joy, and plenty. Um, Happy Sunday. I know to a lot of people this day is a very special day, and we will discuss that later. Okay? All right. For now, I just want to thank everybody for your likes, shares, subscribes, your comments, um, uh, uh, making me feel like I'm not alone in the world, that there are other people who witness things, see things, and become kind of loners in their groups because they can't explain what they've seen or know. And so I just want to say to all those who are caring enough to share your experiences with me, thank you so much. I love you very much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. The God of truth and love bless you. The God of truth and love bless you. And when I think of a God of truth and love, Mother Earth don't hold nothing back, does she? She just blossoms and blooms and grows everywhere. So, she shows she's a little thorny because we have a lot of thorns in our world. Flowers that are beautiful to touch, but be careful because they will bite you, right? Right. So beauty and danger can be one and the same, correct? Correct. Yes. Yes. And the divine feminine, which, even according to biology, the flowers are the feminine and the stamen is the male, so they are joined together as one. Every creature on this planet is both male and female. That's just the way it is, inside and out. So, I have a very special message today, and it starts with Anima Mundi, the soul of the world, the collective. Look at that. I love this picture. I think we've got Pluto in there. We have Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and I think this one right here might represent the Earth. And we have all this spin going on, and things are spinning around and changing different energies. It looks like a cauldron, right? Like if you were thinking about cooking up a pot of soup, that looks like a bunch of ingredients, like you put it in, and then it's getting stirred up, right? Stirred up. That would have been like the witch's cauldron, huh? Or who knows? The cauldron don't necessarily have to be something for witches. I mean, people good and bad alike work through the cauldrons. So, but there was one in the Bible, that did work through the cauldron too. And today we're going to talk about some more of intuitive history. Okay. Now I want to give the reference to this, not because I want anybody to think I'm special, but because of the passion that I had to learn. And so the Bible was like my first college textbook. Like I felt very inclined to read, describe, understand the words. And, I used a dictionary with it. And it became one of the stepping stones to me gaining a higher knowledge and higher intelligence. I was so interested in the part of the past history, what had happened. And that was my question, as I was looking through it, like I don't know if I was looking through it to find God, But I was looking to figure out what in the world has happened that brought us to this place in time where people are valued with money, and their value is based on what they have, and how many people had fallen through the cracks, how many people were struggling to pay bills, what was going on, what was the deeper things that had happened in our life that brought us to this place in time. What happened? Why did the indigenous people fall? What was the source of everything, and where did it come from? It was like this dark plague that just kind of like, there was a time, many dark ages in the last 50,000 years. But it began a long time before that. We're talking millions of years were there aliens on this planet. But today, we're going to talk about the last 50,000 years again. And I'm going to clarify a few points very slowly, surely. And I have been given more messages. And the message of this day is this. Excuse me. The message of the day is that there was a part in the Bible where there was a prophet called Jeremiah who struck curses everywhere it went, terrified. And this God that carried this energy, or this prophet that carried this energy, was somewhat of a narcissist. It was really a terrifying chapter when I had to study about Jeremiah, especially when there was a link to mine own name. In the Hebrew language, it was called Jeconiah and Coniah, Coniah. So almost Connie, right? And because I had suffered such losses, I was like, I wonder, because the things that were prophesied over Jeconiah were some of the things I went through. Lost my child, I lost my children, lost my family, became a beggar on the streets. I don't take no shame from that, because it taught me how beautiful humanity was. Because when I had nothing on the streets, and I would sit and hold my sign, people would come from far and wide to help me. Stop, turn around, come back. I had a hotel every day. I didn't have a family, and I didn't have nowhere to go. But God, the Holy Spirit, Mother Earth, put it in the hearts of people to come to me. Father in heaven, the Trinity. I always believed in a mother and a father. It would take a mother and a father to make a child. So I guess you could say that I believe in the Trinity. And so during all these times, I was intrigued to look into the spiritual side of my life to see what was going on. I don't know why. It happened when I was 33 years old. I began to, I got my first big time download vision at 33, but I started studying around 30. And that's, reading the Bible, trying to understand what history was all about, blah, 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 blah. So let me go ahead and speed up, okay? The message of the day is God says, you're good enough. And all God wants you to do is walk in your authentic truth and childlike self. which would be in pure innocence. That you have it in you to accomplish this by taming and mastering your air, fire, earth, and water, and to tame it with love. They are the four horses of the apocalypse, possibly, sent to us in symbology. God says, you're one of the greatest creations you've ever created. Not only are you part of this earth, but you have alien blood in you as well. We took a giant leap from one stage in life to another. And here we are, practically reaching maturity after 3 million years that has taken other planets to reach this time billions. We have evolved very quickly, and we did that because of the alien blood that we received when we began to start off in the Garden of Eden, which was probably approximately 50,000 years ago. But I want to move up to the place where we were leaving Egypt, okay? There was Egypt, there was Greece, and there was Rome. And these, what do they call them? These territories were rising up and getting ready to go out and conquer the world through war. They had already been working close, but they were getting ready to go out and do that, right? So let's say this is like right after the flood. How many people could have been left? We've been building back. Let's say the flood was possibly 10,000 years in the past from Moses' time. So here we are in Egypt, right? And we are getting ready to take these slaves and go out into the desert. And we are going to free them, right? Okay. I say we, I don't know why. Well, but I do. I felt like I was there at the time this was happening. So we're going to free them. When we get into Mount Sinai, these wild people, they begin to get laws put on them. They begin to be made to feel like they were worthless. From the moment these people left, if you notice, they literally began to go through fearful hell. It was scary for them. I can't imagine. It probably seemed like, oh yeah, it'd be better if we were a slave, imagine having a sea open up and having to walk through it and stuff like that, as we are told this happened. I don't know that I remember feeling like that was true or not, but we're just going to go with it anyway, okay? What we want to do is get to Mount Sinai, where the commandments were formed, where the Israelite people had rules and laws put upon them, the commandments, and really what God wanted was for them to be loved and cared for and released. Not released, but taught how to love and care for themselves, right? They've been slaves since they were created. These are the slaves that were created in order to serve the gods, in order to serve the aliens who had come down to this earth and were, living, from the way I understand it, they were mining gold, which I researched and did a lot of stuff, and it seems to make sense to me because all the high-ups are in love with gold. And the explanation of the gold was to take it back to their planet and plug a hole in it, that was like we have where our atmosphere has that hole that is now shrinking over Antarctica, but has shrunk since the last 20 years. So we are doing something right. But theirs just kept getting bigger, from what I understand, which tells me they did not change. They did not change their habits. They went out and raided planets for their gold and brought back and put in the atmosphere to whatever they felt would seal that hole. It would be better to seal the hole with gold. Okay, now I know as crazy as this sounds, but there's also a legend that this planet literally fell out of its loop that it was supposed to be looping. It was called Nibiru, okay, and could have been a cause of the flood possibility. And when it fell out of its orbit, which, if you think about it, if it's got gold sprayed all around the outside of it, and somehow they've got this all up there, anything that kind of goes tilted one way or another, you ain't going to stop it, no matter how. Even if you have the power to remove mountains with your machines, which is one of the declarations of the Anunnaki. We can do anything. We can shave mountains down. We can, they literally stated they could break planets and create planets. And so we come to Tiamat, the planet that was busted into pieces, right? That formed our solar system. Was that big planet between Jupiter and Mars, I believe, and she was called Tiamat. And they're saying a meteorite, but like this planet was as big as, it was the biggest planet. It was bigger than Jupiter because it was the biggest planet here in the solar system. It's what made the other planets, they say, kick. So Tiamat, and she was covered in water. I found this information out. And it is in Egyptian mythology that this planet was destroyed, and that it doesn't say that she was covered in water, or I can't remember, but this is Sumerian text that I didn't find. I watched a lecture on Sumerian text, so I don't want you to think that I'm capable of researching anything like that. But in putting pieces together, we find out that after this big disaster happened of Noah's Ark, and then here we have these pyramids and stuff, and buildings all around the world, and they're aging some of it up to 50,000 years ago. So these people were supposed to have been giants. They have found bones and stuff of giants, and the Anunnaki. And these people became gods, these extraterrestrial beings or celestial beings who were well advanced in technologies that we can't even comprehend. And the most interesting thing that I found is that one day of ours was 3,000 years to their one day. So we would live one day, and they would live 3,000 days to make that one day compared to our 24 hours, which is one day. And that is one of the comparisons that is in the history books of the Bible. Now, there's so much more ancient history than the Bible. I just didn't know that at the time I began my studies. I was kind of like a sixth grader, and so I had to start and work with what I had to learn to understand what was right before me before I could begin to branch out to understand other things. Now, why am I saying all this? So that we can get to the place that I want to get. I want to get to the Mount Sinai, where Moses is at, okay? The law's been given, and Aaron is wearing the breastplate with the jewels in it. Come to find out, that breastplate is mentioned in the Sumerian text that Enki dictated to his servant for 40 days and 40 nights to release unto the population, releasing himself of all things. Well, the 40 days, 40 nights, I begin to think, wow, I've heard of that before, right? Because I just instantly go back to where, Jesus for 40 days and 40 nights went out into the deserts. Okay? So you see where I'm going? Now, this was approximately 50,000 years ago that Enki is dictating this. Okay? And so now let's get into the fact that Thoth, or truth, Thoth from Egypt is actually the son of Enki. Or according to these writings, so it is. And that Enki and Thoth were a part of helping to create and develop mankind upon this planet. Now, I can't say what was happening with Moses exactly, because God will use what he's got to use to get things done. But God never trespasses upon another, okay? So if God can use anyone to get a little light out to the people, this is what he will do. So now we're in the desert, right? The law's been put upon the people. They're eating manna every day, and accordingly they get lost. Let's think about this. First, let's go back to the mountain. I'm sorry. I want to talk about the two branches that they put in the Ark of Covenant. And when you talk about branch, when I think of the branch off a tree, you put two branches in, you're talking about bloodlines to me. You're talking about families. So we put the almond branch and the olive branch into the ark. Now we know the olive branch was a big part of Noah too. It let Noah know that there was land available now. The olive branch, the dove came back with the olive branch. Okay, so there were survivors because there was still olive trees. Had to be a tree. 40 days and 40 nights. Tree don't grow back in 40 days and 40 nights. Right? Okay. Where are we? Let's go back. I gotta jump timeline again. Let's see. Okay, so let's go back to the mountain. For 40 years, they roamed the desert. At this time and space, these people were living 20 to 30-year lifespans. If they went and was in the desert for 40 years, we're talking about 2 to 3 new generations of people under this rule, which they're calling Israel. Do you understand what I'm saying? Carrying around a coffin, least to say, to something that was in that Ark of the Covenant with the angels on top of it, with what they explained, the branches that they took off the trees were, I think they were 2 angels that were set to guard this planet. I don't know what I think, but I think that it was DNA. I know that might sound strange, but there was fire and lightning and thunder on top of that mountain. And according to ancient aliens, It sounds a lot like a rocket ship. And there were several others, prophets in the Bible, who were directed and headed by spaceships, aliens, I want to say. Okay. And now this is the important part though, that they had the breastplates of destiny that is written about in the Sumerian text that the ancient aliens brought down and gave to the god Enlil, who hated humanity. And was the one that wanted humanity created because he wanted to use them for slaves to help dig gold out of the veins and to work and farm for the gods or the aliens to feed them. You hear the stories, Mount Olympus and all that crap. I mean, the gods lived wonderfully and the people dying of diseases and all kinds of horrible things that went on. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But, okay, let's come back to the correlation of the 40 days and the 40 nights, okay? So it made me think of Jesus. And Jesus being there with Moses and them, you know, and this is what I know, is the blood of a man is sacred when it is inside his body. This is the message from God. But if that blood becomes spilled, its purpose is cursed. A murdered man's blood, that's, you know, you don't want to play in all that mess. That is not holy. Our blood is holy in our veins. When it runs through our veins, that blood went to the god of death. It didn't serve any purpose other than confusion, befuddlement, and evil. And that DNA is the DNA that was in the ark. Jesus may have been created for the very purpose to take the sins of the people upon him. Think about that. That is not right. And God don't play like that. Not true God. And ain't nobody want no God like that over him. Now let's talk about heroes of renown. 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 Re means to do again. Known. Noun. New. Reborn. Reincarnated to another flesh. To use the powers because they know they have them. They have people waiting for them. Now they don't live that long in the human body anymore. It's not possible. Mother Earth cut that shit back. She's like, oh no. They forgot that this planet has a spirit. And we know that she has a spirit because we see it when we look at our beautiful flowers. Look at that. You know, we see it. There's no doubt about it. When we look out to the other planets, we don't see this. We don't see this. They haven't found this. And they probably won't in our solar system. So, of course, this was a desirable place. If there were any aliens out there and, you know, they wrecked their planet, well, it is very desirable to be here. And what better way to create mankind in their image but to serve them without their qualities of strength, without worth, thinking that we were born slaves, that it's our job to slave away our whole life just to make people rich so that they can buy yachts after yachts and mansions after mansions. And there's children in the streets with no shoes and mothers who have abortions because they got no homes to go to. Do you not think that this planet is getting pissed off? Mother Earth? Yeah, she's exposing these things. Now, with Jesus came the formation of churches, synagogues. Man, we were told how horrible we were, right? All the time. You're sinners, you're sinners, you're sinners. They hammered that shit in. What the hell? How we that? You tell me. Well, they thought they were better than us because they evolved completely on their planet from source, on their own planet. But on our planet, they took us as we was bipedal human, in the process of evolving into walking upright. Okay, we were in that process. So they caught us right at that time. And these are the things that they began messing with throughout, probably the whole animal kingdom. I mean, we lost all the saber-tooths. We lost all the mammoths. They blame it on the ancient people. They blame it on the indigenous people. But think about this. Really? 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 You think they hunted out all the mammoths? You think they hunted out all the saber-toothed tigers? You think that them people were after things like that? Those were trophies. They would have been considered trophies because they're rare. Ain't no caveman hanging no trophies in his cave. Anyway, let me get off that. It's the fact that there's a possibility in my intuition because of the far advancement of Egypt, they could have been still creating new things, but following more with universal law. By this time, we've got Ra, who is the eye of the sun and the eye of the moon. And you ask me, well, why would you bring that up? Well, because I had a vision of a coffin or a tomb or a door, because, a coffin kind of looks like a door. And it fell into me, and two eyeballs popped in that I could see that examined me all the way up through to my heart, and I didn't even know what this was. But eventually they told me, I learned that I had been examined by the eyes of Ra. This was the night I took the descent down in hell with Jesus. Okay, so I've got so much stuff to explain, and the reasons these downloads might be coming to me are pretty valid. Okay, so where was I? Again, that Jesus may have been created in that Ark of the Covenant. There was 2 DNAs they put in there. And in my mind, I wonder, well, then we have the tribe of the King of David, right? Because the King of David followed the Ark and celebrated, danced naked around the Ark, even. And so this, whatever kind of glory was in the Ark, was supposed to go to the King of David. Or, I guess, whatever was in the Ark was deadly too. Don't forget that. It killed people all along the trail. Anybody that came near the tribe or accidentally even touched the Ark, it would strike them dead. Scary, huh? Yeah. Now, I wondered, did they have an archangel? Because it was called an ark or an archon. You know, there's something in there. And then, you know, we get the stories of Christ going to be born, right? And then we got that whole fiasco. Horrible, horrible. And there is things that you can see in there that were black magic, such as when the woman dressed in black kneeled down and touched Jesus' shawl. And he says, I feel the virtue has left me. You know, but they didn't go back to the woman touching the shawl. So it felt like he was unprotected because God would never allow nothing like that happen. And this is after he came out of the desert. This is when he was betrayed by Judah and the crucifixion, which led up to the torture. And we have Greece, Rome, and Israel who are involved in this, which Israel is an offscape from Egypt. Sure enough, right? Okay, so, wow, this might last longer than I thought. Okay, where are we at? To the occult works of Jesus Christ. If it involves blood and sacred blood and shattered blood, I don't know what to say. I can't do it. I had to find another way to peace and happiness. There are parts throughout the Bible where it says the sons of God will talk about peace and love and sharing. There will be no lack. There are words and whispers throughout the Bible that have the voice of the true God that was waiting its time to come back in. And as you can see right here, all these planets and stuff are all at certain times. We have certain planets, certain times, and as it spins and turns, we all come back off and on. And we are all a part of a soul. And one soul or another soul is waiting on the other side, watching you, like with a umbilical cord, you know, just showing you the way if you want to know it. It does take a lot of sacrifice because you can't be very materialistic. You got to be more spiritualistic. And you got to just enjoy and love what you have and be grateful for it while you're learning these things. And this is how I set off on my journey to find peace. Because of my vision with Jesus, I had no peace. Every time I thought of spirituality, it made me cry. Where we're supposed to be happy in the spirit. But I could not be happy thinking about it because to me it was a horror show. It was horrible. I had the vision of Jesus on the cross, as I told you. It did not make me feel good. It was dark. It was a dark place. It was black in my vision. When I first saw Jesus out by the well, the sun was shining. It was very, very beautiful day. There was a tree behind him, a tree behind me. And it was just miraculous. Like I fell in love. Okay. The next vision, I was walking down a cobblestone alleyway. And this is the second vision. And it was somewhat dark, but not completely. I could still see a little bit. And it progressed, like I said, into the dark. And this old man came out of the door, the back of the building, and had a cloak, and he threw it over my head. Like, one of those ancient cloaks, like a wizard cloak or something. And pushed me on up the hill like that. And as I began walking up the hill, as soon as I got to the top, I was forced to my knees. Forced. That's why I say don't never willingly bow to anybody. But if you're forced, you can't help it. And I was forced. Made to bow. And I started crying. And I don't know if it was because he forced me. It might have been. But I started crying. And when I looked up, that's when the crucifixion happened. That's when I saw the knife going into his ribs, the blood splat.